Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Tuesday night. It's your boys. It's Flyers Talk A to D. Got a lot to unpack tonight. Get in the comments. We got so much to talk about. We're going to talk about the Flyers' struggles leading into the West Coast trip. We're also going to discuss the Flyers' victory over the Vegas Golden Knights. We're also going to preview that matchup coming up tomorrow night against the Utah Mammoth. So make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe. Get in the comments section. We want to hear from every single one of you. It's time to go drop the puck. Let's start the conversation.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sassuti along with the Darkwing, Brian Daly.
What up? I'm back, bitches.
The Broken One, Rob Povia.
Hey, what's up, fam?
And today we are brought to you by, as always, the Dr. Paul Vidal over at Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains, head on over to the doc, make an appointment at www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Either head to Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey. After a couple of sessions with those teams out there, you will feel as good as new. So hit up the doc and just say goodbye to that pain. All right, and the poll question for today is the Flyers are starting to hit their wall leading into the Olympic break and will help them regain their focus. Agree or disagree? Obviously, in recent memory, there have been some struggles, but yeah, this is going to be something that we're going to have to discuss a little bit. They had their struggles going into Vegas, which they did snap their losing streak, so that's very nice. So, gentlemen, with that, do you agree or do you disagree that they are hitting a wall here at the Olympic break, or is this is there something more concerning underneath the surface here?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's definitely a little something to kind of worry about, maybe. I definitely think they're hitting a little bit of a wall. You know, they've played. Every team's playing a lot of hockey right now. There's some teams slowing down. Some teams are maintaining their, current ship movement. I don't know. I'm so tired, but they're definitely. They're maintaining their course. There it is. Brain's working. What's up, Benny? They're maintaining their course. So to say that a lot of teams are hitting the wall is probably an accurate statement. And this break is definitely going to be much needed for the next 2.5 weeks. So I definitely think it's a little bit of both for sure. And we'll get a little bit more into it in a couple minutes here, but dealing with some injuries, getting all their guys back over the last few games. The emotional high from the win over the Ducks, I think it all played a little bit of a factor. But, ultimately, I agree. They definitely hit a wall. Hopefully they can kind of bust through it on this West Coast trip here, boys.
Yeah. Obviously, like we said, we're running into a few snags there, but, seem to be kind of getting a little bit of it pieced back together. Robbie, how are you feeling about it?
I agree, too. It's self-evident. And let's not forget, you can rewind the tape and go back when we were previewing this season, a season that involves, roughly about 20-day Olympic break come February, and that teams like the Flyers would benefit the most. Young teams where guys are playing the most hockey that they may have had in their professional careers, and that a wall would be hit, and then lo and behold they hit that wall and Flyers Nation is screaming bloody murder, saying, oh, let's tear it down again, and overreacting, as a lot of Flyers Nation will, ignoring the fact that young teams will hit that wall, struggle. Then we talked about last week, getting the injury bug, testing that depth, and that depth really isn't there yet per where they are in the standings. So both, injuries have worked out in our favor pre-break, where we got Bobby Brink back last night against the Vegas Knights, and that was a certainly shot in the arm, as we'll talk about later, but they were seriously missing players like him, missing Jamie Drysdale, missing Tyson Forrester, who's out of the season. And other guys got to step up, right? I think no team is going to benefit more than the Philadelphia Flyers when this Olympic break comes. And I just hope that this team doesn't slip too far from what they've earned, and that's a remarkable showing in the first half of this season. I think what we saw last night is an attempt to hold the reins, hold the fort down until they reach that point. And then we get into Arrison's play as well, which we'll talk about later, which certainly looked quite good last night. But ultimately, I agree with this poll. It's gonna benefit teams like the Flyers.
Yeah. So for me, I'm gonna say agree. I think that, and I don't think it's just young teams. I think a lot of teams, yes, young teams are definitely affected by it. Playing the most hockey possibly that they've played, or playing the toughest game that they've had to play, since obviously it's a very different game compared to juniors, compared to the KHL, compared to the Swedish leagues or what have you. So obviously, big adjustment. But also I think that other teams that can hit the wall too are even older teams. I think that teams that are getting a little long in the tooth. I'm not saying that they're necessarily a prime example right now. I think teams are better at handling that balance than they used to. But there are plenty of teams who also have been affected by it because there's not enough youth in there. There's not enough speed in there, or there's not enough, this is a team that's filled with the guys who are, the average age of this team is like 31, 32, and that's the young guys on the team. And everybody else is like 37, 38, 36. And we don't see that nearly as much now in the NHL as we used to. But even in a situation like this too, they would hit a wall as well real fast. Now, the difference between the two teams, though, is the younger teams coming out of that break, they have an opportunity to rebound here. Whereas, though, with the veteran teams, a lot of times this is the biggest blessing they can ask for, and they can come right back out of that break and be right back where they were and be in a playoff spot immediately. So it has two different effects. With a young team, it's still unsure. You're unpredictable about where they're going to be after the break's done. With a team that I was talking about with the vets, not necessarily true. They should be back to the swing of things by the time the break comes to an end. But I will say agree. I think that's ultimately what my long-winded, unnecessary point there was.
Well, I mean, you follow two rebuilding teams, Matt, the Flyers and the Sharks, and I'm sure they're equally looking forward to this break come February 6th. And, teams like Chicago, Anaheim even as well, Brian. Right. So I think it helps the young. And you do make a good point, Maddie, that even vets could use that time off. Like you maybe look at like a Sidney Crosby over there in Pittsburgh, right? That he can catch a breather and then finish the season strong for them. God willing, not. But hey, Penguins fan, maybe so. But what it's going to hurt is teams that are rolling, and then you don't want to stop playing.
Yeah. And a perfect example of teams like that would be teams that are currently in strong playoff spots right now. Teams that are like, they're either at the top of the division right now, and they're crushing it right now. No one's knocking them off, and they've got everything solidified. This is the teams that get affected the most by this at the end of the day. Everybody else is just like, oh, good, Olympic breaks here. Thank God, Saved by the Bell. Everybody's just like, oh, shit. Momentum's crushed.
Like a team we just saw in the Tampa Bay Lightning. What could a break maybe harm their mojo, Brian?
Yeah, no, I mean, that was kind of something I was thinking about while you guys were talking about it was, who's this going to help going into it? Like, obviously, you have guys who are struggling right now. Flyers, Anaheim starting to come out of their struggles. Just to name the two teams off the top of my head that I know are starting to work their way back. This could be a good way to just kind of get that momentum back in their favor heading into the break, getting a couple big wins from teams they probably shouldn't be beating, or just winning in general, just righting the ship here, as it seems to be the trend I'm going with today is ship talk. So ship talk here on A2D Radio. ahoy. So let's
Just don't
No,
say it with
it's-
your tongue sticking out.
No, I
Well,
won't.
with the
Don't worry about
national
that.
championship last night. I mean,
Oh,
there's
true.
Yeah.
True.
Mhm,
Let's go, Francisco.
yeah.
Francisco. Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make here, boys, is for some teams that are on the struggle bus right now, getting these next couple wins before they head into the break could be blessings in disguise and getting momentum back on their favor. But then again, you're also having 20 days off, so is that really going to help or is it going to hurt? But we'll see. But it's definitely a good thing going into the break, getting a couple wins under your belt, and just kind of get feeling good, feeling loose in the locker room heading into that break.
Yeah, then there are a few teams that are definitely going to be affected by this. I think one team that'll probably be affected by it will be Buffalo. I think with the way that they've been rolling, I think that this break will definitely hurt them because then all that, is taken away because now you're off 20 days. So now you got to try and get back into the swing of things. That's a real challenge for them. And then, and the Lightning, as you said, Robbie. This could very easily affect them, and they've been playing at the top of their game right now. So now all that could possibly be going. Could affect Detroit. It could affect a few teams that are actually playing really well right now, and now they're possibly going to hit a wall because play's done. And even though some of the players are going to go play in the Olympics, it's a different game. So, don't get me wrong, they still have played hockey, but not everybody has. So that's the problem. It's like, yeah, maybe 2 or 3 guys were good enough to be picked for their national teams, but then everybody else is coming off a 20-day break. So there's the problem.
And with that comes injury risk too.
Right. So there's a number of factors to consider here going into this
And
break.
they can keep individual momentum up, but yeah, like you said, the team is not playing for 20 days. So, like I said, it's going to benefit some, harm some others. And the way these last, 6 games coming in on this losing streak before the Vegas game, it looked like February 6th couldn't come sooner for the Flyers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, as we talked about and we alluded to earlier, Flyers having their issues. We're on a 6-game losing streak. It all started with an OT loss that they took to Toronto. Not anything that was necessarily worth panicking about because, you're playing Toronto. So it's like, all right, no big deal. You kind of just brush that one off the shoulder and you move forward. Then you take those really bad losses against Tampa and then shit starts rolling downhill real fast. And yeah, some real bad play there from the Flyers. And don't get me wrong, Tampa is a damn dominant team, and they've been that way for a very long time. Even in their weaker seasons, they're still a dangerous team all the same. So the problem is that when you're not playing well and you've got injuries and you're facing a team that's playing real well in Tampa that could just crush you without even thinking about it, it's like, are we really shocked that this happened? I mean, I don't think we are. Hell, Robbie, you even pretty much called it. So,
to the extent that it was, yeah, I'm actually very surprised by that. But I mean, again, highly emotional game against Anaheim. It's really tough to sometimes come back and get back to that level field.
Right. And then so go
you
ahead.
Obviously you could see the Tampa Bay games unfolding like that, but then it continued on the Buffalo and lower brow teams that it's like, whoa, is this and I get it, like as I said before in the opening that certain fan base started getting maybe having as much questions as maybe the team themselves were having of themselves, right? Shaking their confidence, right? And that's all part of it. But it's how do you stem from that? What guys step up, right? And we saw last night TK stepping up, right? But previously to that, you got to look at the way that like a guy like Sam Harrison that I've been high on in the past, and I was ready to jump off his ship, Brian, and then something dawned on me, right? Maybe it's after seeing that performance last night, but Sam Harrison was used to a lion's share, if not at least 50% of the goalie play, and his minutes between that have been very infrequent. So I think with Harrison, he's starting to look better for more consistent playing time due to Dan Vladar's injury.
Mm.
And this year has been a tough adjustment for Harrison, only getting a start here, a start there. So hopefully he can use this time to get his Sam Harrison, that is, get his game back on track. And then, ultimately Vladar, maybe he can return after the Olympic break. And now you got two goalies rolling. You know what I mean? Or at least not have to be able to feed Vladar to the Wolves. You can ease him back in.
Well, I like that point, Robbie, because I don't think that's anything that anybody, or at least any of us, have talked about as far as a point for Harrison struggling this year. He's not getting that consistent minutes. He's not being able to be in the net long enough to really find a groove and really fix what's wrong with him. That's a great point. So now that he's been a couple consistent games, has a huge game against one of the hottest teams in the league right now. One of the teams that just made a massive trade and landing Rasmus Anderson. So that's a team that just got tougher. You just beat them 2-1 with a fantastic performance from Harrison and Konechny. So tip my hat to TK. Only one with any points on the roster, which is crazy. But ultimately here is maybe that's, we're starting to sniff in the right direction here with what's going on with Harrison. Is maybe, like you said, being taken from pretty much the workload to part-time to now you're just a backup who's going to start every few games, and the second of a back-to-back pays a toll on the mentality. So maybe this is something that they can work on. Like you said, get him rolling through this West Coast trip, see how he does, get him back in the groove. And like you said, maybe we get two goaltenders rolling at the second half of the season here, boys.
Right. And no matter what, next man mentality, right, is a teaching moment and allows guys to step up. Sometimes it comes right away. Sometimes it'll come over time, but that's going to make the team better for it, Maddie.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, TK having his role to play, he wears an A on the jersey for a reason. He's in a leadership position. These are the kind of guys, these are the vets. These are the guys that absolutely need to step up in situations like this. And it's not just the vets either. I mean, there have been some young talent that has stepped up here. I mean, Owen Tippett was out there and he was showing what he could do. I mean, hell, there was that awful game against Buffalo. He was one of the few Flyers that was trying to make a difference out there that game. So, I mean, Christian Dvorak has been still very consistent out there and trying and still finding ways to hit the back of the net, and so there have been players who have been here who've been trying to keep the team going and struggling. But Urson coming in, stepping up to the plate saying, I'm not done yet. I still got something left in the tank. There's resiliency still here, is I think the best way to show it. It's like this team isn't dead. Yes, it went through a really nasty stretch there, but I also will stress this too. Every team has got to go through it. How they're going to go through it, who knows? It could be one of those where they're just not getting the bounces to go their way and they just keep losing consistent, very close games. That might even be more frustrating than getting blown out, because that's where it's just like, man, we're not even playing like shit. We're still not getting the wins.
Yeah, it's hard to fix that.
Yeah, that could be even more shattering than just getting blown the fuck out at the end of the day. Then you realize, oh yeah, we just played like trash. We need to do better, and again, Flyers needed to go through this. It wasn't going to be this way forever. The team being able to come back from tough losses all the time. It's like, all right, at some point they're going to hit a rough patch. And they hadn't hit it yet. They hadn't. They had actually held it off for a good long while there. And I actually got to commend them for that. Like, that's pretty impressive for how long they held it off. I give them that. But
yeah.
It's okay that they're going through it now. It's like, go through it now before you go into the Olympic break. What's up, Swoopy?
Hey, Swoopy.
Go through this rough patch now before the Olympic break. Come back stronger in the second half. You have enough of a cushion to where you're not dead. You've had a lot of strong wins that you have to kind of back up the losses that you're taking. You still want to get wins, of course, before you go into the break. But at the same time, there's no reason to hit the panic button. It's frustrating, but don't hit the panic button.
Well, I think a thing that is not thought of enough is the Flyers are the fourth youngest team in the NHL. Basically, what that means to me is this is a team that's going to still go through growing pains. You're still going to have these types of streaks like that. And a lot of guys are still learning the game. And there's still going to be guys coming up for the next couple of years. And it's going to be the process over the next couple of games. For me, though, you play from behind. And I said this a couple of times this year. You play from behind, you're eventually going to start getting smacked. And unfortunately, you found the worst stretch of teams to play to fall behind on, especially starting with Tampa Bay. Because we know how deep they are, how terrifying they are. They're still one of the best power plays in the league, despite not having Steven Stamkos. You replace him with Jake Gensel, and Jake Gensel has always been a Flyers killer, even for his days back in Pittsburgh. It's just this is just normal growing pains for a team that is going through the rebuild. It's just what it is. Eventually, you're going to crumble a little bit. But the good thing about this is, once you hit that rock bottom, you're going to be able to build yourself back up. And once you build yourself back up, confidence is flying high. This is a team that's like, oh, we had a really good first half minus the end of it. We can do that. We can keep going. Right. They just have to find that groove again, and they're going to find it. There's too many talented players on this roster for them not to, Maddie.
Right, and another thing too, and Swoopy saying Flyers and fans have made a huge mistake thinking we should make big moves and rush the rebuild and think we should now stop focusing on a rebuild. Well, no, you definitely should not stop focusing on that. But another thing to point out too is that this is a team that during the time they were getting shelled, they still were getting chippy and they were getting angry and they were getting a snarl to them. And I'm not saying that that's going to turn the tide all the time, but what that says to me, it's like, this is a team that does not like losing like this. This is not a team that takes this very well. Now, I don't mean that you should take it well, but what that says is that, you know what, this is a team that has that passion to say, like, this is not us. This is absolutely not us. They're not sitting down and just saying, well, we're fucked. No, they're actually getting frustrated and they're actually showing some emotion, maybe a little too much emotion, but at the same time, they're getting frustrated because they know they can do better than this.
Yeah.
And they have done better than this.
For sure.
And let's see here. Got Colin Cahoon 22 saying they need to and have to find a goalie that can actually be good for more than a couple of games.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the thing they have to, a lot of people have to remember is there's two guys, technically three guys they're currently developing right now in Kolosov, Bjarnason, and Zvragin. So right now, Dan Vladar is just playing Band-Aid for the next couple of years. Ersson, his future is TBD. Bjarnason currently is just absolutely crushing AHL hockey right now. So it sounds like he's developing nicely down there. He's going to get an opportunity in camp next year to kind of show off what he's learned. I see him spending another year in the AHL next year. And I think it's going to be Vladar and Kolosov as your goalies tandem for next year. And then it's a question mark on when Zavragin's coming over. But Zavragin's going to be the guy. He's the franchise guy, in my opinion, and the way he's playing the KHL doesn't tell me anything different because he's also crushing it over there. So just a little bit of patience. They don't need to go out and bring in another goalie unless they're going to bring in a backup. But the goalie tandem, we got to be a little bit more patient with the goalie tandem because they're on the way. It's probably going to be another year or two before we see anybody really take over.
Yeah. So I have heard, and I saw this on Facebook. I don't know if this is true or not, but there's a rumor going around that the Flyers were interested in Jordan Binnington, which I thought, why are we going after Jordan Binnington if we've got Vladar?
No, please, God, no. No.
Let's see. Swoop is saying Tippett isn't a future star. He's only a utility guy, thinking he's more than really is. on a good team, he would be a big piece and not feel forced to be more than he is. That won't happen here because he's being forced to be, or than he is or should be.
It's a good point. And then as our players in the pipeline develop, right? More skilled players, he can rest his laurels onto that role, Swoopy, and still be a big piece for this team moving forward.
I would say though, it's like, is Tippett like a superstar? I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I definitely don't think that he's a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I think that if anything, he's been pretty consistent this year for most of
Agreed.
I would, if anything, he's like one of the players I would say, you know what? This is actually one of the better players the Flyers have, in terms of his performance consistently day in and day out. There's players on this team that can go MIA for like 5 or 6 games, and he's not one of them.
My thing on Tippett is he seems like he might be the only guy on the roster right now, aside from TK, that has that shoot first mentality. Now, does he always hit the net? No. But whenever he has the puck and he's in a decent spot right now, he's shooting everywhere. So that's going to be my thing on Tippett. Is he probably going to be a superstar? Is he going to get top line minutes? No, probably not. I don't think he's that type of player, but he's a really solid middle six player that's going to get you 20 to 25 goals a year. And to me, is he overpaid? Right now, yeah. In 2 years, probably not. But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with Tippett doing what he's doing right now. He's been way better this year than he was last year. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm. So we'd be saying players a lot of times are better when they're not being forced to be more than he is, more than he is, I guess is what he meant to say, than they are. And I get that. I get that you don't want to try and force somebody to fall into a role of, hey, it's all on you, situation, or, hey, we need you to step up here and turn into this guy 2.0. I get that. Now that's a little unfair to throw that onto somebody, but I don't know if that's necessarily something that the Flyers have done. I think that has been something that has been a shadow for him, unfortunately, because that was going to happen the moment that he was brought in on the trade that sent Claude Giroux to the Florida Panthers. I mean, naturally, that's going to put the microscope right on him immediately, so unfair. But I can also rest my head at night knowing that the Flyers still won that trade at the end of the day, because the Panthers didn't win the Stanley Cup when they traded him Giroux. So, can't really lose that trade if they didn't win anything with him. I mean, it sucks because I'd like to see Jid win the Stanley Cup before he has to retire, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen unless Ottawa decides to pull a miraculous season out of their ass. But, that's up to them. Anyway.
Well, I mean, for Florida, it was G was merely a rental, so they did not win that trade in either event. But you look at Tippett, and if you're saying he's having a better year, he's still 72nd in the league in goals with 15 and 136 in points with 29. This is not a star. I mean, now, mind you, those stats could go up when you have more talent around you, which is what I think can happen. But I think he could be a nice middle six player that could still be a building block for this team. But ultimately, you're not going to see Owen Tippett take the control of the game on his stick. We're seeing that from Zegras, right? With thank goodness, right? And I believe we will see that from Michkov, and as well as other guys that that we see minimal or yet to be seen, like Jet, Denver Barkey, and Alex Bump. So it's like then you're going to really see where people need to fit in on this team.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we were just saying, if Tippett was on a good team, he'd be scoring 35 to 40 goals because he wouldn't have pressure or have to try to be more than he is. Way less pressure. That depends on the team. Also, it depends on what line he'd be playing on. Depends on a few other factors too. Because I mean, sure, he could have been if he's meshing well with, say, he was on Colorado, and he happened to be on a line with some top tier talent, and that's not very hard to find out there. Sure, his play could get elevated up to something like that, but that's if he's meshing well on that line. If he's meshing well on the line, it's like, okay, yeah, he could easily graze that on that team because of the talent that's around him. Sure, I'll give you that. But if he's on a team that's not like that, it wouldn't really matter. He'd still be kind of in the same situation he's in now, you know? And that's how I feel on that. Yeah, it just depends on the talent that you have on the squad and what you're putting around him at the end of the day. You know, because some players are great at elevating other players. That's just the nature of the business sometimes.
I strongly disagree with you here, Swoopy. If he's on a good team, he's not getting mid 6 minutes. He's getting bottom 6 minutes because those good teams are already going to have those elite talented wingers that are already going to be in those positions. So Tippett will not be getting 35 to 40 goals a year on a good team. He's not going to be a 35 to 40 goal scorer, period. He's going to be your 20 to 25. If he gets 30, great. But
that's his ceiling. Yeah.
That is what it is. Robbie, you said it perfectly. That's his ceiling. He's a mid 6 player. On a good team, he'd be a bottom 6 player.
I mean, even so, even if he was on a bottom 6, depending upon who he works with, he might even have a strong season. You know, it's very possible. Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like, surprisingly enough, if you get a good team that can roll out, you know, even when you're rolling out your third line, if your third line just is like a sneaky kind of line that finds their way and gets a nose for the net, you know, that could easily happen. Like go back to Colorado, like top 2 lines, they're set. Go to third line, still got talent there. So at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, his play could have elevated easily on a line like that. Doesn't matter. It's third line. Who gives a shit? Talent's there. Doesn't matter. It said, why did Reinhart all of a sudden become good goal scorer, lots of points and goals when he got traded?
Yeah, because he left Buffalo. But it's not about leaving it for a team that has better talent. It's about the right fit. Some guys just don't fit in at a certain organization, a certain system. Swoopy, you talk about that all the time about guys not fitting in the system, right? Reinhart fit very well down in Florida, and it really accentuated what he does well.
Right.
It's real easy when your next coaches after that are Paul Maurice and Joe Quenneville. So, and even Gerard Gallant before that, it makes it easier,
right?
Instead of Lindy Ruff.
Well, you remember how? You remember back in the day. You remember how a guy like, say, Tyler Kennedy was like getting a shit ton of goals and ton of points because he was playing on the same line with Sidney Crosby, and then he goes to the Sharks and he can't do shit. It's like, yeah, I wonder why he can't do shit now.
No, spot on. Both of you are 100% right. I'm with you both 100%.
Right. Like let's say for argument's sake, that Colorado had a big injury and they did trade for Owen Tippett and they needed him for the top line to pair him with McKinnon. Then you might see a 35-40, you know what I mean? Because of your example there with Kennedy, right?
Right.
If he's traded for to fit a particular need that's in the top 6, yeah, sure.
So
we want to keep Tippett. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, we definitely want to. Yeah,
we want Tippett.
Yeah, no. We're not going to speak those blasphemies here on this show. This is a holy show here. Anyway, so Flyers struggles leading into the win against Vegas, obviously, as we continue forward. Besides issues in terms of playing offensively wise, obviously a big issue that the Flyers were struggling with was defensive issues. They were having real trouble, being real scrambled eggs out there on the defensive side of things, which unfortunately injuries kind of tend to do that to a team. Didn't help anything that, penalty trouble started becoming a big issue for the Flyers. lots of trips to the box. I mean, hell, they had a 3-6 game parade to the box. So, I mean, damn. It's like, yeah, it was like the Macy's Day Parade, just like, hey, let's go take a bunch of 2-minute penalties and maybe even more. Why not? And then that would lead to goals going into the back of their net 9 times out of 10 because you're playing teams that are playing very well on their power play right now. So you add those kind of issues in, mix it with the struggle on offense. You see where we had the recipe for disaster real quick here for those 6 games.
Yeah, and some things didn't change coming into the game against Vegas, Maddie, because I believe the Flyers took 7 penalties last night. It's just their PK stepped up huge, huge, and regained that early season form. So good on them, good for special teams. But all in all, it was really a lucky victory because those 2 breakaway goals from Konechny, one 5-on-5, one shorthanded, where him just they were Vegas got lazy with their passing up near the blue line, and he just reached his stick, deflected it, rushed in on net both times. So I mean that, and we talked about Sam Harrison played phenomenally well. I believe he made 24-25 saves last night. I think it was 11-4 in that first period, and the Flyers come out with a 1-0 lead. That's what you need from your goaltender. You need him to steal you some games like this. So that was good on Harrison. Overall, I don't want to be repetitive, but he's starting to see consistent minutes, and it showed last night. But overall, right, despite the team getting healthier, being able to rebalance their lines and not having guys play out of position, right, they got back to the strong defensive neutral zone clogging style of Rick Tocchet, but the mistakes were still there. And until those mistakes are cleaned up, this could quickly go back to another losing streak. So I think it's important to not get too high on the victory that you beat Vegas. It was great to end the streak, but still pay attention to what you're doing wrong. Stay the hell out of the box.
Yeah.
And play disciplined hockey.
Yeah,
right.
Staying out of the box has been like the mantra for the season.
Yeah. And I think that definitely that's one big flaw we can pull out of this whole stretch was that, out of the many you could pull out of, but the one consistent one definitely has been that. And I get it at certain points in the game when you're down by like 5 goals, 6 goals. It's like, okay, you're down by like 5 goals, 6 goals. I understand if you want to start a fight or you want to try and instigate something. It's like, all right, you're trying to spark a team at that moment. But when we're talking about like, okay, it's a tight game right now and you're taking stupid penalties, it's like, or you just scored and then 5 minutes later you do something stupid and get your ass thrown in the box. It's like, this is the shit that you really can't afford to do. Against good teams, you cannot do this because they will make you pay. And no matter what, once the Olympic break comes and goes, a lot of those teams that are very strong on their power plays, every time you go to the box, they will make you pay for it almost every time. So that's something the Flyers really need to take a big, long look at right now before they come back from that break. Just like, hey, we need to nip that in the bud because you may not have to face Tampa again this year, but you're going to be facing plenty of other teams that are very capable on their power play. And the last thing you want to do is to be getting back into a game. You're down by 1. You've worked so hard to get back into this game, or you're only up by 1 and you're doing everything you can to hold the lead and you do something real fucking stupid. And there you go. The whole momentum changed after that.
Yeah.
So just something they need to work on big time.
There's definitely been a trend that I've been seeing this year is getting momentum finally back on their side and then taking a penalty and just losing all that momentum. I think that's been a big key to a lot of their losses this year, especially the last couple of games against Tampa. I think there was a lot of undisciplined penalties there too. It's controlling it's getting out of controlling what you can control.
Right.
And a lot of it is some games, it's frustration. You're taking some frustration out. You get to that 5-game mark and you're just kind of like, all right, let's I'm just going to hammer somebody real quick. And then next thing you know, 4 or 5 penalties later, you give up 2 power play goals and you're having a whole nother conversation.
Right. So with those issues that we talked about, Flyers do go in, they get the win against Vegas. A two-player effort you could throw out there for Sam Ersson and net and TK on the offensive side of things. Well, maybe not. That's a little unfair. The PK does deserve their part. They get their flowers for that win as well. But all the same, though, with those efforts, the Flyers do manage to eke out a victory against Vegas. Now they are due to face off with the Utah Mammoth. I believe this is the first time they're facing the Mammoth this year. Yes, they are. Yeah, because they have not faced each other in Philly. So Utah this year, they haven't been playing bad. So my question is, gentlemen, how do you see this game playing out? I mean, you get that win against Vegas. You don't want to necessarily get ahead of yourself, obviously. But at the same token, you do kind of want that to be a spark for them in some way, shape, or form. Like, hey, listen, it doesn't matter that TK got both the goals at the end of the day. Doesn't matter that he's the only guy who got points. Doesn't matter that Ersson stood on his head. The fact of the matter is we still got the win. So we appreciate everything that was just done, but we can all contribute. It doesn't just have to be those two. Why don't we go out there and why don't we do what we got to do against the Mammoth? So then the question that I got to ask you guys is, do you see the Flyers turning things around a little bit here with taking the win from Vegas, taking it in stride a little bit, and pushing forward into Utah and pushing it towards the Mammoth, possibly eking out a victory here?
I really don't. I mean, it's a tough game on the road. They play pretty well at home. They're 14-7-2. They're a strong defensive club. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They got a plus 18 goal differential. So it's going to be a true tough test. And what we saw, just to piggyback off the point you were just making, Maddie, is that the game against Vegas was very top heavy in terms of their top 2 lines seeing a majority of the minutes, and the top 2 and the bottom 2 lines really seeing 7-8 minutes less. The only exception would be maybe Denver Barkey, and he's a good example of a guy that's hitting a wall. I mean, he had a great surge coming in the NHL, and then he kind of just disappeared at this point. It was a bit of a head scratcher that you keep Garnet Hathaway in the lineup instead of Gulbenkian, who had been playing really well. But Hathaway has been that energy player, and he's been all piss and vinegar since he's come back from being a healthy scratch. So it's kind of hard to put him back on the shelf too, right? This might be an opportunity where Denver, you got a big taste. You got more than your cup of coffee. Time to go back to NHL, continue to work on things, right? Play a Gulbenkian, maybe give Alex Bump a shot now or what have you. But at this point, I would say go more veteran-ish with Gulbenkian, and you can match maybe some of that strong neutral zone play of Utah. Keep that going from this game. Keep that momentum going from this game. I believe it'll be a tight contest, but it's an example where I'm not a big fan of how Tocchet was massaging this roster, and I think it needs to be massaged a little bit more for this Utah game, Brian.
No, for sure. And I think you brought up a great point. I think maybe even if you don't send down Barkey, maybe you give him a game or two just to kind of sit and kind of just watch a little bit. And yeah, to me, you got to start figuring out ways to plug in Gulbenkian that much more, because he's literally doing anything and everything. He's creating scoring opportunities. He's playing solid defense. He's hitting. He's playing a grittier game. He got in a freaking fight, for crying out loud. Like,
Yes,
I mean, that's bananas for a guy like him. I like the game that he brings. I like the personality that he has. So there's got to be a way to find him some more minutes here and there. But I mean, to your point, Robbie, you got to create energy, and one of the best ways to do that, especially of late, has been Garnet Hathaway. You got to keep him in there.
Right.
And I agree, it's going to be a tight game because it's the Flyers. All their games are tight. They haven't really blown anybody out in a few weeks. So they got to figure out a way to keep the momentum going and carry it at least through this game here, because they do have a very, very tough matchup against Colorado on, I believe, Friday. You gotta get 2 in a row here, boys. I think this is a must win for them against Utah.
It's definitely going to be a big one because you want to end on a strong note before you close out for the Olympic break. You don't want the last thing that you ended off on as oh yeah, we were getting our asses whooped left and right and just getting treated like dog shit because we were playing like dog shit. That's the last thing you want before you go into your Olympic break. From what I'm seeing here, after the Mammoth, then the Fly. Ooh, I don't like this. So they got the Mammoth, and then they got the Avalanche. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a stretch right there.
That's like Brian saying, it's like you should try to take this game. And I mean, I do see what Tocchet's doing, right? You're managing Mitchkov's minutes, you're managing Barkey's minutes, keeping them at 11:30, between 11:30 and 12 minutes, right? And still having that skill to where you can, finish but neither are. So
Yeah.
I think that's where you got to get a little tougher and rest on your defensive laurels, kind of like what you did with Vegas, right? And I mean, granted, they didn't have the best game either. So I mean, like that was definitely the fortunes favored the Flyers in Vegas, just like
Right.
that, hitting on that progressive slot machine, you know what I mean? To use a pun for being out in Sin City, but yeah, like I said, it's going to be a tough game. And the only thing I disagree with you, Maddie, though, is that, don't get me wrong, I don't want to exactly lose and go out on a sour note into the break, because that's never a good look, right? But I don't think it'll affect how they come back, though, because whether they win or lose before this break, they're going to come back full of energy, ready, like having a full win in their sails. You can put that behind you. And if Rick Tocchet is worth his weight in salt, he's going to get his team to put that behind him.
Right. Good point. So, again, this is, like we said before, a bit of the rough stretch. Hopefully that win in Vegas kind of lights a fire under them a little bit, kind of gets them a little motivated to go out there to Utah and kind of say, you know what? We're not getting blown out. Even if, and I'll say this right now, if they come out there and they show that they're minimizing their mistakes and they're not having a parade to the box, they're coming out there and they're basically staring Utah in the face and just saying, you guys ain't shit at the end of the day. It's like, all right, you're taking it to them and you're not getting thrown into the box while you do it. It's like, all right, I'll take that. That's a big win, because that's like, okay, so we're minimizing mistakes. Even if you're not getting the result on the scoreboard, at least you're minimizing the mistakes and you're not getting thrown into the fucking box every 5 minutes. You're not handing the game to Utah. Utah actually has to earn this shit, And that's the thing that I will also point out too. I don't know if Vegas was taking the Flyers very seriously. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't think Vegas took them seriously, and I think that's another thing to think about on that one. Because, and I get it, why would Vegas take them seriously? They're probably looking at the previous games. They're like, the Flyers are playing like shit right now. This should be easy. And sure enough, they're just like, yep, this is what happens when you take a team for granted. You shouldn't fucking do that. Lesson learned there. But this is what I think the Flyers need to do, though. They need to just come out there and they need to put forth that effort. Don't have that parade to the box. Minimize those mistakes. Just go out there and do everything you can to get a point or 2 points out of Utah at the end of the day. And also keep the game simple, because I feel like a lot of times they're trying to do a lot of fucking stupid, complicated shit that gets themselves in trouble. Like how many times they make blind passes that get turned over? It's just like, guys, what are you doing? Well, like chill. Like, simplify the game. You don't have to be this perfect finesse style team. You don't have to. It'd be great if you can, but you don't need to as long as you get the goals, as long as you score, as long as you get the puck in their zone and you're able to maintain pressure. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for beauty.
Well,
Not,
I think they're doing quite the opposite, Matty. I think they've simplified it too much. I think they need to try and complicate it a little bit more because, like you said, you don't need the finesse plays, which I agree. But if you look at the power play, pass, 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 pass.
oh,
You
well,
look
the
at
power
the
play. Yeah.
anytime they get into the zone, pass, 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 pass. When I feel like they are at their best and they're scoring most of their goals is off the rush. So for me, I would say if you have any opportunity on the rush, whether it's 2-on-1, 3-on-2, 3-on-1, it doesn't matter. If you're coming in off the rush, put as many pucks on that as you possibly can.
Right.
Shoot for a rebound or something along those
Right.
lines. I definitely think they're overcomplicating a lot of things right now, and I think that's been their biggest bugaboo, especially over the last 6 games. Oversimplification, I think, but they just have to get as many pucks on that as humanly possible and put themselves in a good position to get second and third chances. And that's the other thing too. I don't think they're getting enough of those,
No, they're
especially
not.
on the power play. We expected the power play to be much better. They're dead last like they were last year.
Mhm.
But there's also another whole nother part to that, which we've been preaching about is they don't have that goal scorer who's that guaranteed like it's going to score at least once a game on the power play. So
Right.
once they
Right.
find him, they'll be fine. I mean, this is still a work in progress, and you're heading into Utah. Maybe you try and get a little fancy and just see what happens.
Right. With a team that's more defensive minded at the end of the day, you might have a
Mhm.
little bit more of those opportunities there. Are they always going to pay off for you? Maybe not if you got a strong defensive team, but you can keep chipping away at it at the end of the day to get the result. So besides Utah, then the Avalanche, let's see how many games we got. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got about 8 games left until we get to the Olympic break right now. After they're done with this West swing with the Mammoth and the Avalanche back east, they take on the Islanders, then the Blue Jackets, the Bruins. Then they have the Kings come to town, Capitals, and then the Sens, and that's the final team they face
Boy,
before going into the Olympic break.
it's not getting easier.
No, it's not. You're facing a lot of teams that have a lot of pride and a lot to play for right now at the end of the day. I think the weakest one on this entire stretch would be the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, and they've been playing better since the coaching change too.
Right. So yeah, this is gonna be a bit of a gauntlet, especially this one stretch here. They literally have like 1 day off or like 2 days off and 4 games. Like
Right.
Jesus, so they got a rough schedule ahead of them.
And it's been a rough schedule. It's been a lot of back to backs. What up, D?
What's up?
Yeah, so I mean that's part of why you're seeing that fuel gauge running on A right now and burning
Right.
some fumes. But
Mhm.
I one thing I'll say when it comes to the power play, and we saw it earlier on, and there's going to be inconsistencies. Overall, you got to be happy with what you're getting from Trevor Zegras, but I think Trevor Zegras can be that guy that we seek in terms of a power play goal scorer. I mean, he may, or even just setting up plays from around the net too, like leading to others to score. So we want to get back to a little bit of that, and that's going to be the biggest thing to fix for this team because I looked it up, man. 14.7%. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, there are teams who have almost no talent and they do better on the power play consistently.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Zegers could definitely. I agree. Zegers could definitely be the guy, or a guy. But ultimately, you need to find that guy who, just is shoot first mentality. It's not necessarily Zegers, but Zegers will definitely he'll take his fair share of shots for sure.
A happy belated birthday there, Don.
Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday, brother.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, power play wise, there needs to be more of an emphasis on, you know what, instead of doing all the passing and doing the one and done kind of shit, get those second and third chances. If you got to bum rush the net, fucking bum rush the net. I don't give a shit. I mean, I understand back early on in the season, you got called with some bullshit goaltender interference call, but it's just like, you know what? Fucking go for it. Go for it. Bum rush that fucking net. Get your hands on the puck. Get the trash and the loose change around the fucking net. Do it. Like, to me, that's what they need to start doing a hell of a lot more. They may even need to just start doing it in general on top of that, because it's even uneven strength. They're having trouble doing this too, getting those second and third opportunities. It's like, do it. Just crash the fucking net. It's very frustrating to watch them not be there. When it's like, why is nobody in front of the goalie? Why? Why is there no one there on the porch? It's like every other team puts a guy on the porch. Why aren't you there? Like, there's a reason you're supposed to be there, because the puck is right there and you're not there. Net's wide open. That would have been a goal. Simple fucking math right here. Get in front of the fucking goalie. Get in front of the goalie. Don't get in front of your goalie. Get in front of their goalie.
Yeah, that's been a problem too. But they got to get bigger, because a lot of reasons why they're not there is they're getting pushed out of there.
Right. That's a good point.
Unfortunately. So but I've seen smaller players like Danny Briere, when he was playing, clog up in front of the net. That's not an excuse. You fight. You fight
Right.
for position, and you pester. And you know what I mean? And you can take away a goalie's eyes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you got to do. You can figure it out. You're a professional hockey player. Figure it out. Anyway, so game against the Mammoth. What do you think the score is?
I think it'll be another low-scoring game. I'm going to say 3-2, and I'm going to say the Flyers are actually going to pull out the victory in overtime.
All right. In the 3-on-3 OT. Okay, all right. How about you, Robbie?
I was going to say that score, so I can't exactly just play it off you. Not in favor of the Flyers. I was thinking it would be 3-2 Utah, but I'm going to check out what the lines are for tomorrow. First, kind of give me a little bit better inclination if, DraftKings wants to help me out here. There we go.
Be nice.
Yeah. 5-5. I'm going to say it's 4-2 Utah with an empty netter.
All right. And I am going to roll. I'm going to roll 4-3 Flyers. And they hold on for dear life to this victory in regulation.
Oh, they go up like 3-0 in the first period, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's 3-2.
No, I'm going to do even more dramatic than that. No. I'm picturing Utah is up by 3-0, and the Flyers scratch and claw their way back.
Ooh.
Somehow, some way, manage to take the lead late in the third, hold on to this lead desperately, and pull off what they used to pull off at the beginning of the season, where it's like, I don't know how, but for some reason they just beat them. That is fucking beautiful. Magic.
I like that. That's more than just a win. That's a shot in the arm.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah, brother.
That is what I want to see. It's like, let's make this shit happen. It's like, I don't give a fuck what Utah just did in the first period. They just crushed your ass the rest of the game. That's what you get for taking us for granted, motherfuckers. That's what you get.
Yeah, bitches.
All right. So, with that being said, before we got 1 last minute left. who's in net? Do you think that they still roll with Urson, or do they go to? Do you think they're
I think you got to rock Urson.
keep Urson in net? All right. I'm about it. I'm about it. If he's playing good, he's playing good.
Let him build off that confidence.
Yeah. All right then. So,
because I assume with Vladar getting placed on IR as they brought Bobby Brink off of it. I mean, that could only be for a game. That could be for a couple games. It's not any inclination, but I still get a feeling like we don't see Vladar till after the Olympic break.
Do we see Koloslov then at any point?
Probably during that period of time when you said they only had the 1 day off.
Yeah, during that 4-game stretch where they have, I think they have 2 days off, but they got a back-to-back in the middle.
Yeah, Friday, Monday, Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah, probably. I could see that. I could see maybe get him against the Blue Jackets even. In the first half of the back-to-back, and then have Harrison against the Bruins.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being a possibility right there.
Right. Just that, boost that kid's confidence too. You know what I mean? And the thing of it is like, look, you know what I mean? He's got a lot to prove. Give him an opportunity to prove it too. But I think ultimately you got to stick with Harrison. You know what I mean? Like, because that could really help you out in terms of having two goaltenders that are, what we originally thought we were coming into the season with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, all right then. So Urson tomorrow for the Flyers, wearing the orange and black, building off of his win in Vegas, trying to stand large and in charge in the crease against the Utah Mammoth. And with that, that'll do it for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. Unless, gentlemen, there is anything else that you would like to add on.
Film Don't Lie coming up next. Stay following us, so stay tuned and join them.
Absolutely. And
championship time, baby.
Yeah, baby. Championship Sunday coming up. Let's go.
Yeah,
go Rams, Rosca. Good luck to your Rams.
Yep. Yeah, going up against the Seattle Seahawks. All right. Interesting. All right. So with that, that'll do it for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D, brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. You got any issues, any aches and pains? Dr. Paul Vidal is the guy you want to go to. And next week here on the show, I don't think we have a game to live react to next week. I think it's another Monday game for the Flyers. So it is what it is. It's all right, though. We'll make do. Would like to react to a game again, though. Be nice one day. Schedule makers, go fuck yourselves. But, it is what it is. Anyway, with that, we hope everyone stay safe, stay healthy out there, enjoy yourselves, but don't have too much fun. Or, whatever sets you.
Stay safe in all that snow we're about to get dumped on us this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, listen, it's still winter. May not have had it during Christmas, but we're having it now. So
new rule. If you don't have to shovel it, don't tell me that the snow looks pretty, because I'm gonna slap you in your face. I'm gonna. Unless you're my chick, that's about it.
Yeah, and he'll slap you with the shovel.
Then after he slaps you with a shovel, he throws it on top of you. He's like, "Now shovel this shit," and then just walks back into his house. Anyway,
rules.
We thank everybody for joining us. You stay safe, you stay healthy, and stay warm with that crazy ass snow coming our way. And we wish you all a happy and pleasant rest of your week. Peace and love, everybody.